last night, the Thunder capped in a historic season with their first NBA title in their OKC era, beating the Pacers 103-91. And this was an absolutely wild game. OKC went on a 34-20 point run in the third quarter, which was, very different than what we saw in the beginning of the game. It was super back and forth. I was jacked up. I'm like, great, we didn't have a super exciting game 6. We're gonna have an amazing game 7. Right? And then it all kind of went down when Tyrese Haliburton went down, and that was just like, for me watching, I was like, oh, like I literally wanted to cry, know? And like, I'm not a huge Pacer fan. Like, it doesn't matter, but you're a human. And I feel like that was the exact sentiment of every single person on that court.
Oh my gosh, ABI was sick for him, especially because like it was just so momentous for the Pacers in terms of like going blow for blow, like showing like if there is a potential exit for us, we're not going to make it easy for you. And then there was glimmers of, holy crap, the Pacers are going to do this. They're going to win game 7. At least that's how I was feeling watching it. So just to go through all of these emotions already, and then that to happen to one of their, I don't want to just say one of their key players because of what he has done statistically, but the way that he's carried himself in press conferences, the accountability that he has taken, the leadership that he has shown, the tight-knitness and how this team relies on him and vice versa. You felt all of that when you saw him go down, but then you get that secondary thought, and I know you could speak to this as, your career as a college athlete and national championship. He was already working through an injury, and you wonder how much that played into the next injury, the one that completely took him out of the game. So I feel like in that moment when you're so close to finally succeeding at something, you have so many what ifs, but I feel like that probably was a bit louder.
Definitely. And that's going to stick with him forever, right? And that's going to stick with the whole Pacers team and all of the state of Indiana for a long time. But it does not take away from OKC.
Not at all.
And the just impressive run that they had. And, they won. They won the title, and injuries come up. That's sports. It happens. And it totally stinks, right? Like, I've been in championships when your top players go down. I've seen it go down. Like, it totally stinks, but that's a part of the sports. And I think what was so hurtful to everyone was that it happened, like, in the first quarter.
Yeah.
It wasn't even the second quarter yet, right? And so that's what was just so shocking to me. But, yeah, it doesn't take away from the run that OKC went on. I mean, throughout their season, they had 64 wins that they won by 10 or more points. Like, that's crazy. That's record setting. And so just incredible what they were able to do. But let's get to the winning team. So here's SGA on Haliburton's injury.
Yeah, I just asked him if he was all right. It seemed like he was in pain. You just hate to see it in sports in general, but in this moment, like, my heart dropped for him. Like, I couldn't imagine playing the biggest game of my life and something like that happening. It's so unfortunate. It's not fair. But competition isn't fair sometimes. But yeah, I just felt so bad for him. And just asked if he was okay. Obviously, he wasn't. But prayers go out to him for sure. Hell of a player. Future's bright. That team's going to be really good for a long time. Yeah, impressive team, impressive player. I wish them the best of luck.
Yeah, you can just hear how this impacted the best player on the other team.
Right.
Like, this was an every single person thing, and the people who were at the game and in that arena were saying, like, it was off. The vibe was off after that for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, I feel like I would struggle to kind of like, because like you said, not to take away from OKC, because there's so much to be excited about around that, especially with what SGA has done all season long, his humility, his selflessness, the leader that he is. It's just like, how do you shift gears after seeing something like that happen in such a high stake game? And that's what I mean by, like, it's crazy because you don't want to sit there and have these what if moments, because the Pacers had an opportunity and they did succeed in keeping it interesting. They were counted out for game 6, and Haliburton was a huge leader in that. So yeah, tough all around.
Yeah, it's also hard too, because if you're the Pacers, that gives you this like aggressive, let's go, let's attack. And like, not that OKC wasn't going to attack, but like, we're all human. There's a little bit of you of not being like, I'm going to shove my elbow in your throat the next play when your best player just went down and tears his Achilles, right? You know, like, there's part of that you're human and you try to balance it out, but you're also trying to win. So like, it's a hard thing. We've all been in situations when you're on like that side of the fence, and it is hard to navigate.
Actually, brilliant point out, because I didn't think about the fact of like how you would internalize that situation, like trying to talk yourself through, like, we still have to be aggressive, but we want to be empathetic to the situation. I honestly don't know how I'd handle something to that magnitude, because at least through my soccer career, I mean, I've been on the field when girls have gotten injured, but in the timing of it happening, it wasn't a high stake game to that level. So I
Wild.
could still be aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just the whole situation was not something that I think anybody could have foreseen. But here's SGA on if the team will be back considering how young they are.
Yeah, like you said, I haven't even thought that far ahead. But yeah, we definitely still have room to grow, and that's the fun part of this. So many of us can still get better. There's not very many of us on the team that are quote unquote in our prime, or even close to it. So we have a lot of room to grow individually and as a group, and I'm excited for the future of this team. But this is a great start for sure. Couldn't imagine it any other way.
Let the kids celebrate, man. Like, we're already asking him about next year. He's like, yeah, I don't, what? Like, he can't even express what he's feeling. He has not thought that far ahead. And I think the exciting part is that they have room to grow, right?
Yes,
and like,
I love that he said that.
a real thing for sure. And he doesn't feel like he's hit their peak. But yeah, I think that's a hard question to ask someone right after the win.
Yeah, I'm surprised he even tried to answer that as much as he did. I
I
would
would
have
have just
like,
held up the trophy and be like, this is all what I got.
exactly.
Right now.
My mind is here. And just hold the trophy right there. I mean, great points, though, to think about how young this team is. And like you said, players, in time of their prime and so on and so forth. But it's one of those things where, like, especially in the NBA, like, they keep trying to put together these token blockbuster superstar rosters. We don't know what certain things are going to look like next year. And we know there's a couple of teams with a chip on their shoulder because they were really pissed off about their exits. So as considering who SGA is and how passionate he is about this game, he's not going to sit there and be like, yeah, we're primed and ready to go for next year. Like, he has confidence in his team, but this is a league that's going to throw a lot of things at you when it's time for the next tip off the next season.
Definitely. And another guy who was asked pretty much the same question on trying to understand this incredible moment was Jalen Williams. So here's him after the game.
Nope. No, not at all. I actually just had my first drink, so I'm like working on that. I think in a couple days I'll be able to like come back down to earth a little bit. But right now I'm just trying to enjoy the moment. God's been extremely good to me. So I've definitely felt that. Like, coming off the court, just a lot of trials and tribulations just throughout my career, a lot of things that I don't speak on. He's been very good to me, so that was the one thing I reflected on so far. And then I had alcohol, so yeah, pushing through that.
Okay, so what did he mean by the first drink? I was trying to understand this, and I didn't get the context. Like, what did he mean? Is he saying like, I only got one drink so far? Is that what he was saying, or is this like
I
other
took
things?
it as like he's all of 22 years old, so
Yeah,
maybe
that's true.
and like there's a number of guys at my college that were very serious about like not putting alcohol in their system or like not drinking throughout the season at all. So maybe that was really his first go. I don't know. I just know that he's 22 years old. So the context clues I'm putting together is that he is trying to find his limit and not cross that limit. And good for him
Especially
to figure
coming
that out.
off a game, like you've just burned all the calories in your
All
body.
the calories.
Probably haven't eaten in like 10 hours.
Yeah, he probably should stick to one drink because
One drink.
one drink is probably enough depending on your caloric intake and metabolism and all the good things.
It's very true. Well, here is Jalen Williams after and talking about his moment with his mom.
Coming from not being known in college to 4 years later being an NBA champion and having like an impact on a championship team is God's gift for sure. So it's been really cool to get that. So that was like a rush of emotion. And then I messed up and looked up, and my mom was crying in the stands, and then that made me start tearing up a little bit. So that too kind of was some of the rush of the emotion.
I love this guy. He's just like so real. He's like, yeah, I was trying, and then I saw my mom and I started crying. I'm like, I'm your biggest fan.
I was just about to say the same thing. I am now a fan. What I love about that too is just like, it's not even the humility aspect of it. It's like small school. He went through trials and tribulations. Like, this guy has a story to tell within the story to tell. And I think that that's something that could propel this team back to a championship run. But more importantly, hearing that also now makes sense about like probably just had his first drink ever.
Definitely. Well, OKC definitely had a lot of fun, but it seemed like people were getting ready for them to have fun even before the game started.
Oh my gosh.
There were buses, like trolley buses that were already decked out in OKC, NBA Finals champions. And so here's what Rick Carlisle had to say after seeing the buses before the game.
So I first want to congratulate Mark Dagnall, one of the great young coaches in all of professional sports, and his team. The way this season started and everything, they may have had those buses painted up back in December.
So I don't know how you would feel, but if I was a head coach and I saw these buses before the game, I'd be pretty mad. I'd be like, all right, they don't know what's coming. Obviously, it went OKC's way, but how would you feel as a head coach seeing this?
I'd be fired up. It would make me want to dig my heels in deeper, which we know that, they tried to do, but I'd be so fired up because could you imagine being that presumptuous? Like, it's not cheap to wrap cars, let alone buses. So that was an investment of confidence, massive confidence, and luckily it paid off for.
Yeah, and those are real distractions. Like during championship games, you can see, okay, there's the champagne, it's on ice, or like other celebration things that are going on that are, you have
the
to prepare
trophies
for
in
that.
the cutaway, like it's
right.
They can see us and we can kind of see
You're
it.
planning the post-game party, like regardless, like that venue is booked, you gotta go.
Right.
Like, where it's either gonna be really happy or really sad. So like those are all real things that players in these championship games have to use and put them aside and it cannot be a distraction because that's really what's gonna take you off your game.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think we ever talk about the mental aspect of like knowing. I know for hockey, it's always like the Stanley Cup is in the building, but they try not to have it in the building for every single game or like obviously not every round because that mental aspect just like weighs on you differently. So can you imagine coming in and seeing those buses and be like, these guys, like, what did they think they already won? Like, so it can go one of two ways. It's going to gas you up to be like, okay, now we're going to make them pay for that investment that they were very presumptuous about, or it's going to hurt a little bit more after because you're like, well, they get to leave here in championship buses.
Well, it was a great investment.
Yes, it was.
So,
it paid off.
You know what? Crazy, but it worked out in OKC's favor.